John 1, verse 35. The following day, John was again standing with two of his disciples. As Jesus walked by, John looked at him and declared, "Look, there is the Lamb of God." When just John's two disciples heard this, they followed Jesus. Jesus looked around and saw them following. "What do you want?" he asked. They replied, "Rabbi," which means teacher. "Where are you staying?" "Come and see," he said. It was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon when they went with him to the place where he was staying, and they remained with him the rest of the day. Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of those who heard what John said and then followed Jesus. The same Andrew went to find his brother Simon and told him, "We have found the Messiah, which is Christ," which means Christ. And Andrew brought Simon to meet Jesus. Looking intently at Simon, Jesus said, "Your name is Simon, son of Jonah." Some translations will say Simon Bar Jonah. In our world, we'll say Simon Johnson. So Simon Peter's last name was Johnson. It's in the Bible, literally. Yes. But you'll be called Cephas, which means Peter. So your name will move from Simon Johnson to Peter Johnson. The next day, Jesus decided to go to Galilee. He found Philip, and he said to him, "Come follow me." Philip was from Bethsaida, Andrew and Peter's hometown. Philip went to look for Nathanael and told him, "We have found the very person Moses and the prophets wrote about. His name is Jesus, the son of Joseph from Nazareth." "Nazareth!" exclaimed Nathanael. "Can anything good come from Nazareth?" "Come and see for yourself," Philip exclaimed. As they approached, Jesus said, "Now here is a genuine son of Israel, a man of complete integrity." "How do you know me?" Nathanael asked. Jesus replied, "I could see you under the fig tree before Philip found you." I could see you before Philip found you. Then Nathanael exclaimed, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God, the King of Israel." Jesus asked him, "Do you believe this? Because I told you I had seen you under the fig tree. You will see greater things than this." Then he said, "I tell you the truth, you will all see heaven open and the angels of God going up and down on the Son of Man, the one who is the stairway between heaven and earth." In this story, we see a confluence of different people. We see John the Baptist and Jesus and Andrew and Simon Peter and Philip and Nathanael, and there's a confluence of these characters, and it's just because of an invitation. Invitations were being sent left, right, and center. This one was seeing and finding the other one. That one was finding and inviting. Come and see for yourself. I found him, I'm following him. I heard you, I'm following. And all kinds of invitations united these characters. It's almost as if each of the characters in this story were playing show and tell. How many of you know show and tell? How many of you did show and tell in school? In first grade, kindergarten, second grade, show and tell. How many of you have kids who did show and tell or do show and tell? Yeah. How many of you have had your kid forget their toy for show and tell on your way to school, and then you have to turn around and go and find it? If you're a dad like me, what you do is you pick up a pen, look for anything in that car. Take this, show this, tell it. Because we are not going back. Show and tell. Let's pray. Father, thank you for your word. Thank you for the entrance of your word. It gives light and life. I ask that the words that I speak are just not constructions of man's articulation and intellect, but they are transformative words that bring about a change in our lives. In Jesus' name, amen. The story begins with two great men. We see two great men are highlighted in this story. We see John the Baptist and Simon Peter. On one hand, we have John the Baptist. On the other hand, we have Simon Peter, two giants of the New Testament. John the Baptist is the cousin of Jesus. He's the last of the prophets. He's the successor of Elisha. He prophesies and makes way for Jesus' coming. He baptizes Jesus. See, think of how awesome you have to be to baptize Jesus. He preached the last message before Jesus began his ministry. On the other hand, we have Simon Peter, Simon Johnson, but we'll call him for this message. He's a fisherman extraordinary. CEO of the Johnson business. They have fishes, they fish, and they have ships and boats. And Jesus preaches a message from one of his boats. He has a revelation of Jesus upon which the church is built. He walks on water. Only Jesus walked on water, but Simon also is the second person that walks on water. He chops off a soldier's ear for assaulting Jesus and turns around and denies him three times. Then turns around and leads the other disciples to go and fish. And then God turns him around and he preaches the first message after the Holy Ghost came. And 3,000 people are converted. So these are two giants of the New Testament. One bookmarks the beginning of Jesus' ministry, and the other one bookmarks the end of Jesus' ministry on earth. We have a gulf between these two men. These are two great men that are connected by Jesus, but somehow there is a gap. Jesus knows John the Baptist, but Jesus doesn't know Simon. So these two men have a gap between them. A gap between the Old Testament and a gap between the New Testament. A gap between John the Baptist and Simon Peter, because even though they are great men, they don't know each other. They are not connected. There is a gap between Jesus and Simon. There is a gap between Simon the fisherman and Peter the apostle. There is a gap between the prophecy of the church and the actual manifestation of the church. There is a gap between Simon, who went to fish for fish, and Peter, who is fishing for men. There is a gap. Because these are two men that bookmark the ministry of Jesus, but there is a gap in there. And in that gap stands one man. One man whose name is mentioned only 13 times in the New Testament. 6 times he's mentioned as the brother of some other person. A man, even though he's mentioned very few times, compared to Simon, who is mentioned about 52 times, and John the Baptist 84 times. This is a man who seems insignificant. This is a man who doesn't receive the props that is due him. This is a man called Andrew that we very rarely talk about. Andrew, whose name means manly. Isn't it amazing what God can do with one man? This is one man named Andrew, Andros. Andrew means manly, the power of one man, the power of one man, what one man can do. When God wanted to create the human race, he began with Adam. When God wanted to create a lineage of faith, he began with Abraham. When God wanted to protect the spies in Jericho, Rahab was used. When he was about to preserve the children of Israel, Esther was used. When he was about to lead the children of Israel from captivity, Moses was used. To declare the coming of Jesus, John the Baptist. To convert 3,000 people, Simon Peter. To connect Simon Peter to Jesus, Andrew. There is power in one man that chooses to step up and be the gap bridger, to step up and be the one who stands in the gap. And when that one man chooses to step up, God begins to partner with him or her. We say impacting you to impact the world. What we actually mean is an invitation to partner with Jesus to change the stories of people's lives. That's what our mission is. The Bible says in Hebrews chapter 3 verse 14 that we are partners with Jesus. In 2 Corinthians chapter 5, it says that Jesus has reconciled us to God and given us the ministry of reconciliation. We partner with God to bridge the divide, because Jesus would have reached out to Peter by himself. He did not need any help. But every once in a while, Jesus gives us an opportunity to contribute to the stories of other people. Gives us an opportunity to connect other people to destiny. Gives us an opportunity to connect other people to hope and to joy. Gives us an opportunity to write some words in the story of other people. There's this thing I do with my team. Every Monday we meet about the experience. And we walk through the experience. What happened? What did we like? What didn't we like? And there's this activity we did for a while, trying to teach my team that we could actually tell one story. Everybody in their different departments, our team comes together, we sit down and we write one story. We say, okay, let's talk about Frank's first day at I-5. Everybody gets to write 3 words. The paper comes to you, you write 3 words. Whether you begin a sentence, end a sentence, continue a sentence, go midway, whatever, you have 3 words to contribute to the story. And the paper would go around, and there are some mischievous people on our team that sometimes take the story to some really dangerous places. But everybody gets a chance to write to contribute some words in the story of some other person. I think Jesus does this because he could have reached out to Peter by himself. He could have reached out to Nathanael by himself, but he chooses to use you to reach out to your boss. He chooses to use you to reach out to your neighbor. He chooses to use you to reach out to the kid in your community. He chooses to use you to reach out to your HOA president who is annoying you right now, who you want to punch in the face. He uses us to connect hope to hopelessness, to connect anxiety to peace, to connect sorrow to joy, to connect lack to abundance. God used Andrew to reach Peter. God used Philip to reach Nathanael. God wants to use you to reach someone, and all he's asking you to do is show and tell. Show and tell. Show and tell is a visual presentation with a verbal explanation. Show and tell is a visual presentation with a verbal explanation. And it was introduced for kids who would bring a toy or an object, and they would show their classmates about this object, and they would tell, hey, this is what happens, and this is what happens, and this is what happens. And this happened in my house. Joel comes back one day, oh, Daddy, I want a pinball machine. Like, you want a pinball machine? I began thinking, where did he see a pinball machine? What? Did I watch a show? Was there a magazine? Where did he get this one? He tells me, my friend brought it for show and tell. And oh my God, it's so amazing. You need to know my son. He makes all the sound effects. It's like when you put it does ping, ping, pong, ping, ping. And then that is just amazing. That is so amazing. We should buy it. I need one. Can you just buy me? And he's just inundating me. Now, if you know me, I'm immune to my son. My son is cute. So very early, I had to be immune to that cuteness. I was like, your friend's parents must really love him. And he ended there. I was just there. And I love you. But one boy was standing between him and that toy. He would never have known anything about a pinball machine if the guy had not shown and told. He would never have known. And it's not just show, it's show and tell. That means you must talk. We have this thing we do, passive Christianity, where we believe people are supposed to see our lives and be like, oh my God, there's something different about you. Oh my God, I want to do what you're doing. Oh wow, it's so passive. I'm going to pray for you. And then we go to a house and then we pray for to help them, how to help them. It's show and tell. You must talk. We must talk. We must get into the habit of opening our mouths and actually inviting people. Open our mouth. It's word of mouth. Word of mouth marketing is the most efficient way to market something. 82% of consumers will believe a recommendation from a friend or from friends and family over any other type of advertising. People love referrals. The fire party, the fire festival was because people that we look up to, celebrities that we look up to, posted something. People wasted their life savings buying tickets to a festival that was not going to happen. Why? Because somebody they looked up to said, this is cool. Beats headphones on athletes and sports people, and we want to wear what they're wearing. We want to go to the places they are going to because we love referrals. We love things that our friends tell us is cool. How many times have you seen a movie because somebody said it was cool? How many times have you gone to a restaurant because your friend said it was cool? They talked to you about something and you did something. 74% of consumers identify word of mouth as a key influencer in the decision to buy something. Millennials rank word of mouth as the number one influencer in whatever they bought. 68% of consumers trust online opinions from other consumers. 72% say reading a positive customer review increased their trust in the business. It takes an average of 2 to 6 reviews to get 56% of them to this point. Word of mouth is effective. Any marketer will tell you that's what they hope for. You just want to have a good product that I can say something about, and you also want to encourage me to say something. I believe that Jesus is worth talking about. I believe the one that changed your mind and keeps you in your mind, that keeps your marriage together, keeps your kids together, saved you from your sin, healed you from disease, the one that gives you peace, the one that gives you joy. I believe he's worth talking about. He's the best product there is. Question is, why aren't we talking? Word of mouth. I believe the church has a marketing issue, a marketing problem, because the customer base, the present customer base of Jesus is not saying anything. He's changed your life and you have not said anything. You come to church, oh, my church is cool, oh, my church is nice, and we don't do anything. The song says, go tell it on the mountain. Go tell it on your job. Go tell it on your kids' playground. Go tell it in your community. Go tell it wherever you are. Open your mouth and say something. We see in John chapter 1, everybody is talking. John the Baptist is talking. Andrew is talking. Jesus is talking. Philip is talking. Nathanael is talking. Jesus goes from 0 disciples to 5 disciples in 2 days because everybody is talking. Everybody is talking. The Popeye spicy chicken sandwich. I'm back here again. Why? It was popular because people were talking. We have something better than a spicy sandwich, which I have not eaten yet. It's all your fault. Because people are talking. People are talking. Imagine what would happen if you invited someone to church. Imagine the impact it would have. More kids are cared for. More orphanages are built. More wells are dug. More food is given out, more water, more clothes, more people are cared for. There is more community. People can actually come here and find friendships. Imagine the impact that would happen if we invited someone to church. So why don't we invite people to church? I did some research and I realized that one, we don't trust what they're going to experience when they come. Like so, I find you guys are cool though, but sometimes, man, you guys be tripping. Like you stick this guy that has a Nigerian accent on the stage, half the time I'm hearing him, half the time I'm not hearing him. Well, like we don't trust it, and sometimes we don't feel we're gonna be free to be ourselves when they come. We're like, normally when they're not here, you're raising your hand. All of a sudden, you invite your coworker, and she's there, and you're like, come on, man. Come on. And that's because we don't want the pressure of living like we go to church at work. Because if I actually go crazy and worship and praise, she's going to say something at work. She's going to ask me a question. We don't want to be asked questions that we cannot answer. We want to keep our worlds separate. I want to have my party people different from my work people, and my church people different from my go on a trip people. And we want to make it convenient to have multiple personality disorder because everybody is separate. They don't mix up. So I'm not going to invite them to church because it's convenient for me. We get intimidated sometimes by their transformation. The lady that invited I and Pastor Ambi would not have guessed that today will be the campus pastors here. She actually became a little bit jealous that people actually were gravitating towards us. We had more friends. She actually became jealous. Sometimes we get intimidated that the people we invite might actually go past us. And we are comfortable as long as they are under. As long as I know more people than you. I know the pastor and you don't. The pastor hugs me but doesn't hug you. They give me a fist bump but they don't. And it's comfortable. John the Baptist introduces Andrew to Jesus. Andrew introduces Simon to Jesus. Simon is the pillar of the apostle of the church. John the Baptist is not. John the Baptist loses 2 disciples the day he opened his mouth and said something. He was willing to sacrifice his reputation because you don't know what might happen to the life that you invite to Jesus. You don't know. Some of us say we are not invited, so why should I invite someone? I woke up one morning and God told me, get on 195 and turn right 200 miles from now and turn left at this junction. The Holy Spirit brought me here. Everybody should figure out how to get here. Nobody invited me, so I'm not inviting anybody. What if you figured it out so no other person has to? What if you came here on your own so that you actually can invite people? Because there were people Jesus called personally. There are people Jesus trusted other people to call. Sometimes we fear we're going to get a no. That's the worst thing that can happen. Can you come to church with me next week? No. Did you die? You will still eat lunch and dinner and breakfast after that. You're fine. Your coffee is still in the cup. Most of us fear rejection. They lose out. You don't. But we have to be bold to say something. Some of us just feel we are not qualified enough. Like, I'm still the same old me. I'm still the same person. God is not yet done with me. God is going to be done with you in heaven. He will never not be done with you. You always have something he's working on with you. Which brings me to why I think that we should invite. Number one, I think that you have a great story. Now, I did not say you have a deep story. I did not say you have a big story. I just said you have a great story. There is a great reason why you come back here. You must like something. Because you will not be here if you do not like it. Maybe it's the music. Maybe it's the lights. Maybe it's the sound. Maybe it's Pastor Jimmy. And Pastor Jimmy dresses awesome and he speaks wonderful. He's a charisma. Whatever it is, he's a wonderful, caring pastor. Pastor Irene is so sweet and she's so nice and she's so powerful. Whatever. Sometimes for some of you is that we have 2 minutes where you get to hug people. What? 2 minutes. 70 hugs. You can get it in like hug, 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 hug. Like, then they give you mints. In case your breath is not up to standard, you pop a mint in your mouth. It can be whatever. It can be whatever. Whatever you like. You don't wait till you own the restaurant to tell someone about food that was great. You don't wait till you own the theater to say the film was great. The Avengers was wonderful. Black Panther, you sent a text. Yo, bro, Black Panther, amazing. You don't want the movie theater. You were not complaining about the guy who sold you the ticket. You were not complaining about how filthy the theater was. You're just saying something was nice. You should come see it. You have a great story. Maybe your kids enjoy it. Your kids are going to enjoy church. You might not enjoy it, but I promise you they're going to enjoy it. Because my kids love it. Come, bring your kids. It can be anything. Andrew did not know. He did not spend more than a day with Jesus and he called his brother. Philip just had a conversation with Jesus and he called his friend. The woman at the well had just one conversation and she went back to the city and called everybody in the city. I met a lady here who was invited by a friend. The next week she brought someone back. Why did she bring the person? I liked it. I just like it. And she went and she said something. Share how you feel. Go to work tomorrow and be like, church was amazing yesterday. Why? The music. Church was amazing yesterday. I got to hug like 5 people that I've never met before. I met someone. I talk. It's just nice and warm and fuzzy. The coffee is great. They give you a nice gift when you're the first time. So you may want to come early because if you miss it, you might not get a cup. Correct? It's very easy. You have a great story. Number 2, they could have a great story. There are stories that are being written around you right now. Stories. Wherever you go in CVS, a story is being written. In Whole Foods, a story is being written. In your workplace, a story is being written. And most of these stories end in depression. Some of them end in suicide. Some of them end in hopelessness. Some of them end in isolation and loneliness. And we have an opportunity, a divine opportunity to interrupt the narrative of their story if we say something. We have the opportunity to interrupt their destiny, what they're headed for. Headed for depression, headed for broken marriages, headed for abusive relationships. If we open our mouth and say something as simple as come and see for yourself. We have the privilege to interrupt the story. How would Andrew have known that the man he invited was going to end up being as powerful as he is? How would Philip have known that the man he invited was going to end up being the one who saw Jesus for who he really was? We say Peter is the one that had the revelation. True. But Nathanael was the first person that called Jesus the Son of God. Nathanael was the first person to refer to Jesus as the King of Israel. How would Philip have known the impact of inviting this one person? How would Andrew have known that the man he was going to invite was going to be the other man, the only other man to walk on water? The man that would preach and convert 3,000 people. The one that Jesus would anchor the continuation of his ministry on. How would he have known? And here is a very important thing. In John chapter 1 verse 45, he says Philip went to look for his friend. And he said, Jesus of Nazareth. And Nathanael is like, Nazareth, can anything good come out of it? Philip says, come and see for yourself. Sometimes we try so hard to argue. And you try to convince. Just say, yo, church, next week, lunch on me. You will get a reply. No, I dare you to try me. This word, yo, or bro, or sis, or hey, whatever, works for you. Use that. Greeting, yo. Church, next week, lunch on me. Deal. And you never know. And all that it takes from us is to say something. But then Jesus says something. Jesus says, I saw you, Nathanael, under the tree before Philip found you. And it boggled me all week. I began to wonder, was Jesus always looking forward to meeting him and had to trust John the Baptist to say something to Andrew and Andrew to say something to Peter? So that when he went to see Philip, the Bible says that Philip was from the same place that Peter and Andrew were from. Let's play it out. Sometimes you need to play out the Bible. If Jesus had walked up to Philip by himself, Philip might have looked up and seen a stranger asking him to come and would have been like, nah, bro, like, I don't know you. Like, shush, go back. But Jesus is wise. Jesus gets two people that Philip knows, gets them and calls them, and they're accompanying him. So that when he says, Philip, hey, come and follow me, Philip looks up and sees two people that he knows. And he's like, yeah, if you guys trust him, I must trust him. Do you know how many people are waiting for an invite to come to church because if they think you are cool, your church must be cool, and they're just waiting for you to say, my church is cool? Do you know how many people Jesus is trusting you to say something to? And he turns to Nathanael and he says, I saw you before Philip found you, but I had to give Andrew a chance to write some of your story. I had to give Peter a chance to write some of your story. I had to give Philip a chance to write some of your story because God trusts us to interrupt the stories of other people. And we don't know who we are going to invite. Maybe the woman you invite tomorrow becomes your kid's class teacher. Maybe the boy you invite tomorrow becomes the pastor of your grandkids. Maybe the man you invite tomorrow saves his marriage because he finds Jesus and he comes to love his wife and saves his family. You never know. Maybe the kid you invite becomes a future U.S. president. Maybe the kid you invite becomes a UN Secretary General. You don't know the power of a very simple act as invitation. Very simple act. And I was saying, how do you invite? I was going to come up with this beautiful, nice intellectual thing. I was like, forget it. What do you do when you see a very good movie? What do you do when you go to a restaurant and you get some food? What do you do when you travel somewhere and it's beautiful? 4 things you do. You talk, you tag, you tap, you text. You talk about it. You tag someone on Instagram when you see a funny video or a funny picture or a funny meme. You tap on someone's shoulder and be like, bro, man, you need to go to ABC. Or you just text, yo, church, next week, lunch on me. Hashtag show and tell. It can be anyone. It's really that easy. Who can you invite? Anyone. Your friends, your family, your neighbor, your co-worker, your frenemy, your lying sister, your lying brother, random people, the boss you want to slap across the face on Monday morning. Anybody. And when can you do it? You can do it today. Next week is a beautiful opportunity actually to do it. National Back to Church Sunday is a day in September for those people who take break from church because June, July, we travel, we go on breaks. And you just want to re-invite them, reconnect them to church. And what's up, I'm better off actually, we have a party. It's our 7th year anniversary. It's a perfect 7, it's the number of perfection. And it's that day for us next week. And then we launch another campus for those of you who live close by there. Whatever. Next Sunday is actually a good day to start is today for next Sunday. Just text someone, tap someone on the shoulder. Church was great. Do you want to come to church with me? Get to the gas station. Do you know that awkward look we give when we're standing side by side with a car on the opposite side of the gas station? And then you look at them, look at you, and then look at them, then look at you, and then like, oh my God, this gas should. You can just say something. Hey, my church, I5 meets by Royal Farms. Sunday, it's going to be cool. Anytime, 8:30, 10:30, 12:30. You can do that. It's as simple as that. Let's not overcomplicate it. Because God is trusting us to show and tell. God is trusting you to open up your mouth and say something. God is trusting you to change the trajectory of people's stories. God is trusting you to not be passive. God is trusting you to be actively communicating. Let's all stand up on our feet.